Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Red Rock cold air intake in black, fitting 2019 and newer V8 powered Sierra 1500s. Now the Red Rock intake is a great option for the Sierra owner who's looking for a simple way to get more sound and performance out of their truck, all at a very budget-friendly price tag. This is a bolt-in, no tune required intake that provides similar benefits to the big name brands without hitting your wallet too hard. Let's start off with the most important part of an intake, the filter. Now this is a reusable multi-layered oiled design, which does a good job of filtering out dirt and dust, but it also makes maintenance easy. No need to worry about replacing the filter. You can just clean this one and re-oil it with any kind of standard re-oiling kit when it gets dirty, then you're back on the road. It's a good money savings in the long run, especially if you plan on keeping your truck for a long time. Included in this kit, there's also a Venturi adapter to smooth out airflow going into the intake tube from the filter, which is not something you see all the time. You also get this powder-coated aluminum intake tube, which feels quite nice in your hand. It's going to add some nice visual interest to your engine bay too. These look a heck of a lot better than the standard plastic tubes. Now, my favorite part though about aluminum intake tubes is that they add some nice intake noise due to the resonance of the metal. So you're going to get to hear your engine pulling in air, and to me at least, intake noise is the best, and it's the biggest reason to buy one of these things. Speaking of interest, perhaps the most interesting part of this kit is that it comes with this big old heat shield as well. Now this is a pleasant surprise to have included here, since many less expensive cold air intakes tend to not include a heat shield, especially not one so expansive. So they aren't necessarily cold air intakes in that case. Now having this piece is not going to be quite as effective as having a full-on closed air box, but it is going to mean that your engine will be able to more easily pull in cooler air, as this is going to separate that filter from the rest of the engine bay. Now cooler air means better combustion means more power and response for you. And since this intake does not require a tune, you can just bolt all this stuff in and enjoy it. However, if you do want to get the most out of your intake setup, a custom tune is going to help you take advantage of that. One other thing to note about this air box too is that it comes with weather stripping to help keep things sealed off. So though it's not quite the same as a full-on closed box setup, this is going to get you pretty darn close, and it's going to do it again for a fraction of the cost. The heat shield and intake tube are both constructed from high-strength aluminum, and they're also both finished off in a black powder coating to make for a nice visual accent and provide them with some added protection against the elements. All of this makes them light, durable, and heat resistant, so they're gonna look good, be corrosion-free, and last you a long time. Now again, that filter is a multi-layer oil design, so this too is a pretty quality piece, and you've got some nice deep pleats in here to filter out all that dirt and debris. So this should provide you a nice upgrade versus your stock setup as well. Plus, everything you need to bolt this in comes included. The only thing you're gonna have to swap over is your mass airflow sensor right here, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Because first we have to get to the best part, and that is the price. Coming in at just about $200, this is one of the least expensive intakes you can get for these trucks. But despite that budget-friendly price tag, you're still getting a good quality item for your money. And if you want that really cool intake sound, there's no less expensive way to get it. And as compared to other intakes on the market, you're gonna feel similar performance. So this is gonna be a good option regardless, but especially so if your build is a bit more budget focused. As far as installation goes, this one is going to get an easy 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you about an hour to complete. This is a relatively simple installation. It's very straightforward, and the intake on these trucks is easily accessible. You get all the clamps and connector hoses that you need as well, and the only thing you're really going to have to port over from your original intake, again, is your mass airflow sensor, but you've even got new screws right here ready to go, making it pretty darned easy. But enough of me talking about it, let's head out to the shop now, where we'll walk you through the process.
For this install, you will need an impact, a ratchet, an extension, T20 Torx bit, 8 and 10 millimeter sockets, a 10 millimeter wrench, flat and Phillips head screwdrivers, and a pair of angle cutters. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing a cold air intake on our Sierra, so let's get started. So we'll start off by removing our factory intake. Now what we're going to do first is unplug our mass airflow sensor, then we're going to go ahead and loosen up the top of our air box with a couple screws there, and then go ahead and move down to the rest of our air intake tube towards the throttle body. So we'll go ahead first, pop this mass airflow sensor off. There's a red safety tab right here. We're gonna have to push back, push down on the release tab, and then unplug that. Now we've got that unplugged, we'll set it aside and out of the way. So our next step is going to be to go ahead and loosen up the clamp for our intake tube that goes to our air box. So we'll grab a flathead screwdriver. You can also use a 7mm socket to do this. We're just going to go ahead and rock with a flathead. So you want to make sure this is good and loose, but you don't want to completely undo the clamp, obviously. And we can go ahead and push back on our tube. Now we just want to get it loose. We're not going to fully take it off just yet. We just want to make sure it moves on there. So now we're going to go ahead and unbolt the top of our air box. Now there are 3 8mm screws holding it on. One is right up here behind this main wire harness here, and then there's one directly on the back side here next to your intake tube, and then there's one in the back middle here next to your brake booster as well as your coolant reservoir. So we'll go ahead and grab our 8mm socket and extension on our impact, go ahead and run those out, and then pull the top of our air box off. Now this backside one is hard to see, but again, it's pretty much dead in the middle of the air box right here. We got that one out. We'll go ahead and pull this front one out. Again, it is directly adjacent to this main wiring harness here. And our other one is going to be right back here on the edge. Now that we have those out, we can go ahead and remove our upper air box cover. Now it does have 3 little prongs on this side. We're going to need to kind of wedge this out to release that. And then once we have this up, we can go ahead and pull this out of our intake tube, just like so. Next, we'll go ahead and remove our filter. So next we're going to go ahead and release this harness connector here from the bracket that is on our factory lower air box. So there's a tab on the back side of it. It's kind of hard to see. If you go ahead and push on it and just kind of work this off, it will go ahead and pop off like so. Then you can push that tab holding your wire on. Again, this is hard to see, but it is pretty straightforward. So go ahead and make sure that's out of the way as well. So now we can go ahead and remove the nut from the mounting stud here on our lower air box. And for that, we'll grab our 10mm socket and extension on our impact and go ahead and run that off. So if you are having real problems getting this out, you can go ahead and move your coolant reservoir. There's a 10mm screw holding it in on this side and some retainer studs up top here. So we'll go ahead and pop those off. Just be careful if your vehicle is hot. You don't want to get any coolant on you or anything like that. It shouldn't spill out, but just be cautious of that. So if you come down here to the right side, if you're looking into the engine bay, the 10mm screw is going to be right in the middle of this plastic guard here, this little bracket. So we use our 10mm socket and extension on our impact, and we're going to go ahead and pop that off. So now that we have that off, we'll go ahead and pull it off of its mounting studs here. We're going to go ahead and give it a little rotate, like so. Go ahead and pull it up and out like this. That's going to give us a lot more room to work with. And it's going to allow us to move this harness. And you'll feel that come free around your air tube. Watch your coolant lines. Go ahead and pull that out. So now we'll go ahead and set our reservoir back on our mounting studs. We're not going to screw it down just yet, just in case we have to move it around a bit more to install our new setup. So our next step is going to be to remove our intake tube from our throttle body side, as well as some PCV fittings that are on here. So we'll go ahead and reach back there with our flathead screwdriver and go ahead and loosen up that clamp. It's the same style as this one here, so same deal. You can use a 7mm or our flathead like we're doing. And while it is very hard to see, it's located right back here on the throttle body. You'll be able to feel it. Loosen it up. Now that we have that loose, we can go ahead and pop this off of the throttle body. Now we're not just going to pull it out just yet. Like I mentioned, there's some fittings on here. So now we're going to go ahead and pop the rest of our intake tube off, and then we're going to go ahead and pop these retainers off of our PCV. And go ahead and pop our tube out of our PCV fitting. So now we can go ahead and take our other side of our PCV hose off. So the same style fitting as this, we're just going to push in on that release. Go ahead and pop that off. Alrighty guys, now that we have our factory intake out, there's a couple things we're going to need to swap over from our stock setup to our new assembly. The first one being the grommet for the mounting stud on our lower air box. So we're going to go ahead and pop that out, swap it over to our new heat shield assembly. And that's simply just going to pop right out by pushing it up from the bottom. It's a little tight, but it'll come right out. So we'll pop that out, and we can set our lower air box aside. So now we're going to take that grommet, we're going to install it onto our new heat shield. So we've got it facing up right here, and our mounting point is going to be right here on this opening, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and install that grommet just as it was in the factory. Go ahead and push that through. Make sure that seat's in there, and that'll be good to go. Next thing we're going to have to swap over is our mass airflow sensor. So we've got our upper air box, and we're going to go ahead and pull the two T20 Torx screws out, holding our mass airflow sensor in place. Go ahead and pull that out so we can swap it over to our new intake tube. So we'll grab our T20 Torx bit on our impact, pull these screws out, and take it out. Now you do want to be very gentle and safe with this, because you definitely don't want to damage your mass airflow sensor. Once we have our screws out, we'll go ahead and carefully remove our sensor. And you do want to note the orientation. The plug here is facing back out towards the intake tube. So we'll go ahead and set that aside. So now we can go ahead and install our mass airflow sensor into our new intake tube. Now you notice we have it in the same orientation as what our factory one would be. So this is going to go towards your throttle body. This is towards your air filter and heat shield, which would be your air box. So we'll go ahead and remove the Phillips head screws here, install our mass airflow sensor, and go ahead and screw it back in using these same screws. So we'll grab our Phillips head screwdriver and do just that. Now our next step is going to be to install our filter adapter cone to our heat shield. So our larger end is going to go on the inside for our filter. Smaller end is going to poke through the back side here like so. So we can adapt our intake tube to that. So we'll grab two of our 10mm flange nuts, lock washers and flat washers, and go ahead and get these installed. So you want to line up your bolt holes. Go ahead and get these on. Then we'll go ahead and snug these down with our 10 mil socket on our impact. So our next step is going to be to install our harness mounting bracket. So we'll go ahead and find the mounting hole right above our grommet that we previously installed. We're going to grab another one of our 10 millimeter flange bolts. Go ahead and send that through our bracket. Send that through the mounting hole. Then on the back side, we're going to add a flat washer. And then our 10 millimeter mounting lock nut. Go ahead and get that started. Then we're going to go ahead and tighten this down using our 10 mil socket on our impact and a 10 millimeter wrench. So we want to keep this pretty vertical with our heat shield. We'll go ahead and tighten it down. Next, we're going to install our mounting bushing slash stud here on this bracket mount here. So we're going to go ahead and install our bushing into the mounting hole like so. Then we're going to grab one of our large fender washers. Go ahead and send that underneath. Followed by another 10 millimeter locking nut. Once we get that started, we'll go ahead and tighten it down using our 10 millimeter socket on our ratchet. So now we can go ahead and install our outer trim for the edge of our heat shield. So this trim has a channel in it, and that's just going to ride right along the edge of our heat shield. So we'll go ahead and push that in and run it around the whole exterior. These corners can be a little bit tricky. Just exercise some patience. Should be able to get them to go. And then we'll go ahead and trim off this excess, and we're not going to worry about this inner edge right here. It's not going to affect anything. So now that we have this ran all the way to this edge, we'll go ahead and grab some angle cutters, and we'll mark out where we're going to land on the edge here. And go ahead and cut these back. Go ahead and set that last bit in place. So now we're ready to go ahead and install our heat shield into where our factory airbox was located. So we've got our heat shield, we're going to send that down and set it in place on the factory mounting stud here, and then our mounting grommet stud is going to go back where those little plugs were on the back side. So we'll go ahead and bring this down. Now one thing you want to do is make sure that harness is not being pinched underneath. So you can go ahead and pull that back like so. We're going to carefully send this down into place. Now you may need to move that coolant reservoir again, which I believe we're going to have to do. So we'll go ahead, pull this back. Pull that coolant reservoir back off. Go ahead and move that over. Go ahead and maneuver this. You do want to be mindful of your harness again here. It's a lot of stuff to work around. Then you want to line that rear mounting stud up with where your grommet went through. Go ahead. We're going to keep our coolant reservoir up here for the time being. We have to add a nut to the backside of that stud bushing. So once you have that stud on the backside in position through where the original grommet mount was, we're going to go ahead and add another fender washer as well as a 10 mil lock nut to the backside of that. Now there is a harness you have to contend with back here, but you can easily just kind of maneuver it around, get it out of the way. We'll go ahead and add our mounting nut in. All right. Now we can go ahead and tighten that down with our 10 mil socket on our ratchet. Now we'll go ahead and finagle our coolant reservoir back into place. Still have a little bit of flex here. Pop that through, just make sure you don't pinch that harness. Get that back on our studs here. Then we'll go ahead and reinstall that 10 millimeter bolt that was holding it in place earlier. So we'll get our 10 millimeter bolt back in place for our reservoir. And that's down here between the plastic shrouding here. Line your hole up. And we'll again use our 10 mil socket and extension on our impact to tighten that back down. So now we'll go ahead and reinstall that mounting nut for our front mounting stud. We'll use our 10 mil socket and extension on our impact to tighten that back down. Now we'll go ahead and install our harness connector onto our mounting bracket here. So that's just going to line up, slide onto that like so. Now we can install our air filter. So we'll slide our large end. This already has a clamp on it. We'll go ahead and slide that onto our adapter cone here. Then we'll tighten that down with our flathead screwdriver. That's nice and secure. So next we'll go ahead and install our silicone coupler and hose clamp onto our outside of our adapter here. So we'll go ahead and get our clamp onto our coupler, like so. Slide that on, make sure that's seated. Then we'll go ahead and snug this side down again with our flathead screwdriver. Now we're going to take our intake tube and add our throttle body side of our silicone coupler onto our intake tube first. So we'll go ahead and pop that on. Make sure it's deep enough to seat. We'll go ahead and snug this clamp down with our flathead screwdriver. All right. Then what we'll do is add another one of our clamps to the other end of our silicone coupler on our airbox side. So we'll go ahead and slide that on, keep it loose, as well as adding another clamp onto our throttle body side. We'll go ahead, we want these to face the same direction so they look nice. Then we're going to go ahead and slide our intake tube into our coupler, as well as install it onto our throttle body. Go ahead and get that seated. We'll come back, slide that onto our throttle body. Make sure everything is seated as we want it. Now we can go ahead and tighten up our clamps. Again with our flathead screwdriver. Go ahead and get our throttle body side on. So next step, we can go ahead and plug our mass airflow sensor back in. So we'll grab our factory connector, plug that back in, and push our red safety tab back into place. Okay. So next we can go ahead and install our new provided PCV hose. So we've got both of our hose clamps end to end. We're going to go ahead and install that on our cylinder head side as well as our intake tube side. Make sure those seat good onto our attachments. And then for these clamps, we're going to grab a Phillips head screwdriver. We'll go ahead and tighten these down. This one is admittedly a little bit trickier with the valve cover and whatnot here. We'll get a good angle on that. Go ahead and tighten it down. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our Red Rock cold air intake and black finish for your 19 current V8 Sierra 1500. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Sierra, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.